Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another exciting day. This is Galaxy Television. The program is Democracy and the Rule of Law. I honestly don't know how to describe this Sunday. At first, I wanted to say it's going to be it is a wet Sunday, but right now the heat out there, wow. So I don't know if it'd be right to call it a wet. Hot Sunday. Okay, let's quickly take a look at what we're going to be talking about today. We'll be starting today's show with the Senate, Nigerian Senate Tuesday throughout a bill seeking the appointment of service chiefs to reflect the federal character principle. The bill, sponsored by Senate Minority Leader Iyenaya Baribe, is seeking to give effect to Section 219 of the 1999 Constitution to provide for the establishment of the Armed Forces Service Commission. Then after that, we'll be taking a look at a former militant in the Niger Delta region, Mujahid Asare Dokubo, announcing himself as the leader of the new Biafra de facto customary government, citing injustice and marginalization on Igbo people found in various zones of the country as the reason for his aspiring for a better life for his people. Then we'll now go to the Nigerian Labour Congress. NLC about 2 weeks ago staged a peaceful protest over the proposed amendment of the Minimum Wage Act. This was a topic we were supposed to treat last week Sunday, I beg your pardon, but there was no time, so we're treating it today. The protest, which was coordinated from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, held simultaneously across the country. They are protesting the minimum wage bill being transferred to from exclusive to concurrent list. Then finally, we'll be going over to Kwara State, where nearly a month of the use of hijab in the grant aid schools generated controversy amongst members of two religious communities in Kwara State, which later led to the closure of 10 schools. And of course, this has also resulted in violence in some of the schools in that state. So these are the topics we'll be treating on today's edition of Democracy and the Rule of Law. My name is Solomon Offen. I'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll start talking on this fully. Once again, you're welcome to the show. We'll be right back after this very, very short break. Okay, if you're just tuning in, this is Democracy and the Rule of Law on Galaxy Television. Let's quickly introduce you to my guest. I have a barrister, Mike Umonnan. I got it right?
Very well.
He's a legal practitioner first. Thank you for joining us again.
Pleasure, my brother.
And of course, Barrister Destiny Takan. Thank you so much. Very short notice, and you honored the invitation. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, Solomon. Good to be here, yes.
And then, of course, all the way from Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, I have Kabiru Akingbolu, who will be our virtual guest for today's edition of Democracy and the Rule of Law. Barrister Akingbolu, thank you so much for your time on Democracy and the Rule of Law. Okay, I hope you can hear me. Let's quickly introduce us to our first topic for discussion. Now, the Nigerian Senate Tuesday threw out a bill seeking the appointment of service chiefs to reflect the federal character principle. The bill, sponsored by Senate Minority Leader Iyenaya Baribe, is seeking to give effect to Section 219 of the 1999 Constitution to provide for the establishment of the Armed Forces Service Commission. But the bill caused a massive split in the upper legislative chamber, a section of the lawmakers spoke either for or against it. The controversy that has trailed the appointment of heads of service agencies in Nigeria clearly situated the bill. Senator Baribe, a vocal critic of the Buhari-led government, did not hide the sentiment as he advocated the creation of a commission that should make it possible to reflect the diversity of Nigeria in appointment of service chiefs. The voice vote by senators was against the bill, eliciting reactions. With the seeming harmony in the 9th Senate facing imminent threat to the Red Chamber headed for a closed-door meeting to calm frayed nerves. And several minutes later, the narrative changed, with then combative minority leader eventually conceding. Now, let me start from you. Okay. This Senate has been, critics have actually said the minority members of the Senate have been docile, as it were, more like moving along with the majority in the House, where they were supposed to give the ruling party, a run for their money. But it looks like they've been going along. Even incidentally, Nigerians have been the one crying now that what is wrong with you guys? You guys are just letting the legislators, I beg pardon, the executive have their way with everything. Every bill, seems to be a rubber stamp. Every request from the president seems to be a straight approval. Will this take that narrative out of it?
Very well, Solomon. I don't want to mince words. The present National Assembly is a rubber stamp National Assembly. Whatsoever that the presidency needs or the executive needs is what goes through the National Assembly. I want to give an example. When everybody was shouting that it was wrong for the president to extend the tenure of the IGP, and then it was wrong for the president to, after the so-called resignation or retirement of the service chiefs, he now appointed them as ambassadors of Nigeria. And then we now said, since the president has refused to listen to Nigerians, that the National Assembly, or the Senate in particular, should refuse to approve those nominations.
But they were approved.
The National Assembly just simply approved all of them. So whatsoever leaves the presidency to the National Assembly is sure to go through. It's rather unfortunate because I was expecting, the opposition party has a reasonable number of people in the House to cause some upset, but they don't. They don't do anything. They just, I don't know what goes on there because I've never been there. I don't know. I'm not a politician.
I mean, we are just on the outside.
Yes, we are watching. We don't know what goes on that. Something that is so sensitive, something that Nigerians are interested in, and they will want it to go the other way, will go leave the executive and gets into the National Assembly. And the National Assembly will simply give a stamp, rubber stamp it, and allow it to go, and everybody will be shouting, nothing will happen. It is so unfortunate that we have this kind of number, the number of people that we have in the opposition party in the National Assembly, and yet they are not able to turn the table. They are not able to even create an impact in the National Assembly. There is no way, if they want to do anything in that National Assembly to ensure that they thwart the effort of the executive to cause problem in this country, there is no way they would not succeed. If they can have some sympathy from even the ruling party, some members of the National Assembly that are in the ruling party who are in sympathy with what is going on, will jump ship and move over to them, and then they will collaborate and ensure that they defeat whatsoever policies come from the executive to the National Assembly, expecting it to just go through easily. So, but unfortunately, that is not what we are seeing. What we are seeing is that a situation that any bill even emanates from the minority, the opposition party, they
are also the minority members
anyway, and the bill will be defeated simply because they are not, I don't know what, because if you are also ceding to what the majority is doing, they should be able to also give you a little bit of your own portion. You understand, when it is your turn. But this one is not like that. I don't know the way the politics is played in that National Assembly. It's so unfortunate.
Let me have your view. That look like the minority leaders is listening to what Nigerians are saying now, like, okay, well, I think it's time for Ross to give the ruling or the majority members there a run for their money. It is a good start, even though it's coming quite late.
Well, it's never too late to start. What needs to be done, what has to be done, should be done. Even if it's in the 11th hour, it should be done. Now, for the subject of discussion, I would say, is it because it came from the minority that it was dismissed? That's what I want to call it. I have actually written on this on my social media wall, on Facebook, and it's also on WhatsApp, especially this topic, because I was taught, as I still am. The question is, I'm not surprised though that the National Assembly Senate threw that out. The Senate President was very clear at the beginning. He said, we will do everything the President wants. He said that. That they are there to do everything the President wants. That's why
which is not a good indication.
I mean, I've had to compare, the leadership of the National Assembly under Saraki as against his. Saraki was also a member of the party, like him, because of the truth. Maybe Lawan and others in the National Assembly, especially the Senate, are forgetting that the National Assembly is a separate arm of government constitutionally, or so to say, at law. So
with the power of their own.
Yeah, with the power of their own, part of oversight, checks and balances. That's what it's called. I mean, you read that, far back as your days in secondary school. So that's what it is. But very sadly, you have a situation where the legislature is an appendage. That's stated by the Senate President simply spelled from the beginning that they were ready to kowtow to go with the executive. Now, but for the bill that we're talking about, really, you want to ask, what was the purpose of that bill? Usually in legislation, you want to look at, sometimes the lawyers will say, okay, a legislation is always intended to correct some existing mischief. So what is the mischief, or what was this bill intended to remedy? We have in this administration a situation where 95% or more of the security chiefs are from the north and of the Muslim faith. That is what is happening. Now, why is that?
So there is an ethnic and religious bias.
That's where I'm going.
Now, before I got to you, let me bring in the Zoom guest, so it won't be like we're not acknowledging him. Let's have your view that Barrister Kabir Akingbolu from Ibadan State. Now, what do you think about this bill, and why do you think there is a controversy? I mean, it's supposed to be a straightforward bill, but why do you think there's controversy surrounding the bill?
It's internal politics. For instance, if the bill had emanated from a member of the ruling party, it might not have suffered such a setback. However, as much as I agree that there should be equality in the appointment of government, we should also not forget the fact that when you talk or have so much on the issue of federal character and all that, it also do away with the quality. Quality appointment is underplayed in the sense that you don't find the best people to occupy positions, because you have to do the bidding of some parochial sentiment about race, about tribe, about religion, and some other things. You see some people and say these are from the minority. You see some other, you say they are from the majority, and so on and so forth. And don't forget, I also do not share the sentiment of anybody bringing in the bill or thinking that the bill is so important. But in our country, specifically, the issue of federal character is there. That in all appointment of government, in all placement of all this kind of placement, that government should consider the issue of federal character. You will also observe correctly and truthfully so that in appointing the ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, there is at least one minister from all the 36 states of the Federation. this is the federal character at work. But then, if you are now making another law, if I may ask, if you are now making another law to say federal character in the army or in the force, I don't know what that means, because the Constitution is the first head to Rigo. It is the fundamental law. It is the organic law. It is the father and forefather of great fathers of all laws. So if the law at the Senate about the federal character in the army that is being proposed, even if it's case through, it cannot take precedence over the Constitution. And again, what are we saying? In the appointment of service chief, go and look at it. It is under Obasanjo. Was it under Obasanjo? Was it under Jonathan? Was it under?
We seem to be having a issue with our network. That we'll come back to you. Okay, now you can continue. Probably react to what he just said.
Thank you. So where I was going, saying that they are predominantly of from the north and of the Muslim faith, and you want to ask, one of the things you want to look at, given what I said from the beginning, that the Senate president said that, whatever the president wants is what they would do. Now, if you look at the body language of this government, all right, the security agencies work under a command structure, all right? Whether it be the police, the DSS, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Civil Defense
Talking about the military and paramilitary.
As security, I want
generally.
to be particular, so that people don't just think it's the armed forces in the strict sense of the Navy, Army, and the police inclusive and all of that.
Yeah.
Unless the commander-in-chief, so to say, with the police is the IG. If he doesn't say go, they do nothing. The same with the Army, with the Navy, with the Air Force. And we have a serious security situation today in the country, where we have strange people occupying lands all over Nigeria. How they came into the country, we do not know, even though the president had, in his wisdom, told us they are foreigners from Libya and what those were.
Niger.
Very saddening. The president did say that. Now, these people are here. If people are crying in Lagos that, look, our women are being raped, our farmlands rendered desolate, if the commissioner of police do not tell the area commander or the divisional police officer and go, they don't, that's the way Nigeria works. Nobody moves. The same thing, if the IG are not given the go-ahead, the commissioner won't do a thing. The soldiers will not come in to assist unless the go-ahead is given from Abuja. So when you appoint people from a certain part of the country and of a particular religion, and what we're seeing on the ground is anti-other people of other ethnic extraction and of other faith, it simply lends credence to the fact that you have a deliberate policy of ethnicism and of religious bigotry, and you're prosecuting that agenda. Because, as I said, because of the command structure of the security agencies, it becomes impossible. Even if people are being slaughtered and the soldiers do not actually go in, they can't go in. If you go in, you've lost your job. That's the way it works. So it's very saddening. This bill was intended to correct that. My colleague said something that I disagree with entirely. Yeah, Section 217 of the Constitution talks about the armed forces and the constitution of its officers and ranks, that it should reflect the federal character. Under Chapter 2 of the Constitution, where you have the fundamental objective principles and directives of state policy, it talks about federal character. That whatever you do in appointment, it should reflect the federal character.
Sorry to cut in. So, if you already have this in the Constitution, what's the need for this bill?
That's where I'm going. I'm addressing what he said.
Okay.
If you're coming up with a bill, there are so many things concerning the Constitution, which is the ground norm. But this is a commission to give effect. To give effect to the provisions of the Constitution. Because what we have on the ground, we have a situation where the provisions of the Constitution are not being observed. Why do we have the Civil Service Commission? The civil service has been guaranteed under the Constitution that it shall be a civil service. But we have a Civil Service Commission.
We also have the Police Service Commission.
And several others.
The Federal Character Commission that they're supposed to reflect all these issues.
So they are intended to give effect to the provisions of the Constitution. So in a situation where as we have today, You have, even if my colleague was trying to give instances of president, well, do we have to continue with the wrong because though the repetition of the wrong make it right? It doesn't. So it's not arguable to say that because there's provision in the Constitution, there shouldn't be a commission. It is not duplicity or duplication howsoever. The existence or establishment of a commission is only intended to give ascendancy, to give assent or effect to the provisions of the Constitution.
Okay, let me go back to Barrister Akingbolu. Now, you were talking before we were interrupted, by the network. Now, surely you wouldn't think that by the time federal character reduces quality, you can tell me, for example, the armed forces now, you can get good security personnel in the southwest, in the southeast, in the south. They don't all have to come from the north, or they all have to come from the southwest, or they all have to come from the southeast, as it were. So let me hear your view on that.
No, you see, in the last one, the one that Nigerians chased out by rejecting them, Buratai and the rest, and co. We have one from Calabar or so thereabout. One is from the southwest. One is from the chief of air staff is from Bauchi. The chief of army staff is from Borno State. The chief of this is from, I think, PTC or wherever. And the chief of naval staff is from the south. So this is, I think, to an extent, evenly distributed. And again, when you have a federal character commission, what commission are you going to have again to enforce the issue of federal character? You will say you have federal character on the army or federal character on navy. Then later, if you have for the army, you will later have for police. You will later have for civil defense. You will have for immigration. Remember, because
there is for police actually. There is for police. So yes, police service commission. So why is the federal character commission for the military so wrong? The armed forces generally, yeah. So why is the federal character for armed forces? I mean, specifically targeting that the military services generally. Why is that so wrong?
Why it is wrong is this. Now, if you are talking about federal character, don't forget that the officer, they rise through the ranks. Now, if you say federal character, you may even not see somebody from a particular region that is fit to one purpose. That is fit for one purpose. And now, if you are saying federal character, even the person who is fit for that purpose from a particular region may not be in the good book of the government. In other words, you may prefer to lay him off so that somebody who is more junior can come up. Like we have seen in the police. There was a particular time that an IG was to be appointed. They retired 28 senior police officers just for him to come on board. All these things are interplay of politics and tribal sentiment. I want to think that since we have a federal character commission, I would have expected the National Assembly under the oversight function to invite whether the Director General or the Chairman to come and explain how far have you complied with the provision as regard federal character in relation to your agency, rather than now creating another agency for federal character in respect of the army. I don't think it is just. I think we should do things like a serious people for once.
Okay, now I understand where he's coming from. The whole thing seems to make it look so cumbersome and adding more politics, because I know, like the Police Service Commission, there was a time there was a clash between the commission and the IG that seemed to be so many politics, making the whole thing so much more political and much more cumbersome. Maybe that's where the opposition is coming from for the military.
Actually, Solomon, my own opinion in this particular issue is that laws are not problems in Nigeria. We have enough laws to cover virtually every ground, but the implementation is always the problem.
The application.
The application is a problem. Like the executive, there are enough provisions in the Constitution, as he has stated, that make provision for application of federal character in the appointment, in the promotion, in the recruitment.
Exactly.
but this has never been
Observed,
applied. The Federal Character Commission that we have is just in the name. It does not, in fact, it does. I don't know whether it advises the president on the application of federal character in appointment. Because if it does, what we are seeing in the presidency will not come. It's so unfortunate that we have the laws in the constitution that are not observed, that are not implemented, and that is why probably these senators are saying, let us create a commission that will be given the proper duty. If we don't see this reflected in the armed forces.
But if what you just said,
Yes.
the Federal Character Commission is just a name, why do you think the one that will be created in the military wouldn't just be a name also?
You see, the reason is that the military is an armed force. You understand? Is a security outfit that is expected that once there is any challenge, as we have in Nigeria today, every eye is looking at the military. You are the one in charge. You should do this and do that. So if there is this commission, as it were, or this, commission of Armed Forces Commission, then the senators, the National Assembly members would be able to call them to order. You are expected to apply this. Why didn't you apply it? But the executive is the one that is expected to apply the provisions of the Constitution. And the National Assembly finds it difficult to call the president and say, why didn't you apply? Why didn't you do this and all that? You understand what I'm saying? But if there is a particular commission like that in the military, and it is expected to apply it, not having any reference to the executive, then that commission will be held accountable. That is my own insight as to the creation of that commission.